Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Metaphysical Happy Hour. So I have our wonderful returning guest host with me today. Michelle, how have you been?
I am fantastic, but if you do not live in Texas, you do not understand the hot temperatures. It has been awfully hot. So it actually, I have enjoyed staying at home and not going out into the hot car. So I've been doing fantastic. So how have you been doing?
I've been doing good. I've actually been doing a lot of walking, but with the heat, it's like headed to the mall and then walk around the mall so I don't like die in the heat.
Good
But
idea.
yeah.
Because I
So
was, yeah.
oh, I cut you off. Sorry.
Oh no. Well, I was going to say if you do walk outside, it's like being in a sauna, and you come
Absolutely.
home and your hair's all drenched. So yeah, the mall's much better.
Yes. So tonight we have a really cool conversation happening. We have a guest with us. His name is Seph, and we are going to be talking about the angels, the angelic realm. He also has a cool tarot deck that he's going to tell us about. So without any further ado, welcome, Seph. Welcome to the
Hey,
show.
thank you. Thanks for having me. And speaking of the heat, I'm in Arizona, so oh,
Oh,
yes, but
okay, never mind.
yeah. Well, I'm actually in Sedona, so it's not so bad, but it's a little bit there. But thanks for having me, and I love talking about the angels, and especially helping people to connect with their angels. That's really my favorite part, is getting people to open up to their intuition and being able to connect with them themselves as well.
Well,
Awesome.
you know what? Okay, so tell us when all of this started. I mean, did it start when you were younger? Did it start when you were a little bit older? When did you decide to go into this line of work with angels?
So, yeah, never along the line did I decide. I just want you to be very clear about that one. So, as a kid, and many people who are listening who can communicate with the angels or have psychic ability can remember being a kid and having access to this and not knowing that there's anything different about that. So when I was a kid, I had that, and I remember it very clearly. I remember a lot of amazing things that would happen, things that would become aware of. For example, when I was a kid, I remember being revealed by the voices that I spoke with that each one of us, the Holy Spirit that resides in us, since we all share the connection of being the embodiment of the Holy Spirit, that when we connect with each other, that's how God is able to love us, is through each other. And that couldn't be any more of a potent message than it is right now, because it's time for us to really love each other, right? And so that's, why the angels are here and speaking to us and guiding us, and especially those of us who have been speaking to them for several years. So, of course, we have to go and leave a normal life for a little bit. And then for me, I had a bit of a breakdown of like literally everything in my life. And I happened to call on them. I was yelling at them actually for not doing a good enough job of watching over me and eliminating all these horrible things from happening to me. And then they came in and I felt them touch me. I felt this inner peace inside that you can't explain. And I felt them speak to me. I could literally hear them through my inner knowing tell me, Seph, it's going to be okay. In fact, it's going to be better than okay. So the next day, I heard them speak to me again because I had tuned into that channel and I couldn't turn it off. And they said, yeah, we're going to be working together. And then they inverted that experience on me. And they asked me to realize that as a soul, I had signed up for that sort of mini collapse in my life so that I would call on them and that we would begin this next chapter. After that, they began to share with me that the world was going to go through some very big changes. And this was 20 years ago. And that we were going to live in a whole new earth. And they told me that we wouldn't even recognize it from what we had today. And they made me aware that we wouldn't have money in its current form, government in its current form, or that we would be able to heal ourselves from our consciousness, so we wouldn't need medicine anymore. and that we would have a one-on-one relationship with the divine. So we wouldn't necessarily need religious structures anymore. And so they began to share with me that there would be this shift where these old structures would die off, and that we would live in a whole new earth with this amazing possibility. And it's almost like, looks like sci-fi the way that it is, but we are so activated by our highest potential that we'll have that here. And it's coming very soon, very, very soon, believe it or not. It's on an accelerate path to us. So they came into me to talk to me about that and asked me to help people through these times. So teaching people intuition or conscious development, and connecting with people one-on-one. I teach tarot, angels and tarot masterclass. All of that is to prepare people for this shift, or to at least allow them access to their own angels and intuition so that they can navigate through this shift a lot more easily. And it's not a magic carpet ride, but it is a lot more easily.
Well, and I think it's wonderful that you said yes, and that you continued to, do whatever needed to be done at that time. And so what made you really believe in yourself and know this is definitely what I need to do?
If I were to replay that moment in time, I guess the angels had a very amazing quality where they knew how to disarm any of my doubt that was them. And there was a lot of experiences that showed up in certain ways. So it was pretty incredible, the miraculous things that would show up. They would tell me something was going to happen, and then it would. And so that was sort of part of it. But when they originally came to me, because in the presence of the angels, when we're able to connect with them, we feel this unmistakable peace. And I call it homecoming, because where we come from, which is the other side, or being one with God or the divine, there is such a complete feeling on the inside of expansiveness, expansion, perfection. There isn't an ounce of fear in our being when we're connected to that. And so when we're connected to them, they bring that to us, and we feel it. And we don't just feel it in our body, we feel it in our heart, we feel it viscerally, we feel it in our awareness. So when we connect with them, or our spirit guides, and many people have had experiences where maybe even a loved one comes and visits them in their dreams. And when that happens, this happens a lot. I had this, my grandma came to me one time, my mom did too, and they give you a hug where they're actually hugging you. And you start shaking with this amazing, immense, beautiful energy that's unmistakable as being home, like the origin point of our soul. And we don't have to guess or think about what that is. It automatically reminds us, and we remember.
Absolutely beautiful. I know that you had to change your life, whenever you said, okay, I know what my purpose is. I'm going to step forward. I'm going to fulfill it. What did everybody think when you explained this to them? Because you say it so beautifully, but how did your friends feel about this? How did your family feel about it?
That's a really good question. And it's interesting because, you have a sort of guidance about who you're going to share what with. And in the beginning stages, there was no conversation about the new earth and the upcoming structural shift. That conversation has only become excruciatingly relevant in the last 2.5 years. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And, at the beginning of that, the angels said, that's an ascension portal. Don't call it the name that the media gives it, that rhymes with mandemic, that starts with a P. Don't give that word energy or power, because this is an ascension portal. At any rate, it's a sort of a slow process of being able to reveal certain things. But here's what's happened. First of all, when the angels first came to me, all of the people that maybe wouldn't accept this sort of dropped out of my life. And for our audience, that would be the same thing for them. When they start to wake up consciously and spiritually, then all these new people who are already in that same place start to come in. And when family starts to come in, we pick and choose who we're able to share this piece of ourselves with. And throughout the years, I've noticed that people who wouldn't have been open to it suddenly have their own experience. And even though they don't know that you're there, innately they know to come back to you to share that experience with you. And it's very interesting. Even members of my family who would have been maybe a little bit more conservative or a little bit more close to it suddenly have had their own experiences. And now they have an opening in their awareness to be able to understand or frame what this is. But especially when you're using this kinds of abilities, such as yourselves, and you're using it to heal and bless other people and to actually give them the opportunity to become a fuller version of themselves, guess what happens? Like, how can you not see that as someone who's working directly with divine forces?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, and as you're talking about it, it seems like everybody is going to have a spiritual awakening. So, what advice do you have to tell people once you start having the spiritual awakening, what should they do?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot to do, that's for sure. Well, just first of all, when we get that intersection where the divine part of us that is our true self comes and says, hey, by the way, I'm taking the driver's seat now, which is what it is. When that happens, there's something inside of us that knows what's going on already. So it's not going to seem very strange. And what's interesting is you'll notice that people and information will start surfacing that you need to hear at that time, whatever that is. When I first woke up, I lived right next door to a big Barnes and Noble bookstore. Remember those old school bookstores? And so I lived right next door to one. And for whatever reason, I just got this strange idea to walk into the bookstore. And I found the metaphysical section. And I used to just pull a book and I'd open a page and it would be exactly what I needed to hear. But what was also interesting is that people would surface in my life that would have the same thing. And I'm going to tell you this experience that I had just because it sets up a pattern of what people can expect. Because when we make one small step towards the divine comes the rest of the way and meets us where we're at. So when I started communicating with the angels, I don't know where I got the idea that I probably had healing energy in my hands.
Mhm.
So I asked the angels if I had that. And if I did, could they reveal that? How to find that? I had never heard of Reiki or anything like that. The next day, I end up with another of one of the new friends that I had met that talks to the angels. And he says to me, Seph, the angels just told me that you asked them if you're a healer. And I said, yes, I did just yesterday. And he said, let me write down the name of a book. And it was a book that was written by Dr. Eric Pearl called The Reconnection, which is a beautiful, beautiful healing modality. And he said, go get this book. So for whatever reason, I left the gathering. I went to the bookstore. It was on the ground. And I picked it up and I read it from cover to cover. And it's not just what we read. And this is what I say when I do readings. When I do readings, I ask people to open their heart first, because we're not listening to a reader with our ears. We're listening with our awareness, which is in our heart. And in order for us to get the best messages, it's important that our heart is open, right? And so when we do that, we're hearing the things that the reader isn't saying with their mouth and vocabulary. And so we read a book, like I read this book, but I also got the rest of it from the angels, right? They downloaded the rest of it. I started feeling this sort of tingling in my hands. And I was like, oh, wow, I know what to do with this already. And we all have this, right? So
Absolutely.
to answer your question, expect these situations just to show up, because you don't need to do anything. You don't need to logicalize this journey. All you want to do is surrender, and it'll be magical what will show up from there.
Absolutely. Just take that one step forward and don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when you were talking about your hands, Cassie. Now I work. Yes, we understand completely. I know
Mhm.
whenever I started taking meditation at a yoga store, and we would meditate together as a group. And I mean, I had electricity coming out of my hands. It felt like it, the energy. And I'm going, what is going? This is before I even looked into it. And I'm going, what is going on? And then whenever I contacted a psychic medium, she explained it to me that we have those energy pockets. And I went, so like you said, these experiences are not coincidences. It kind of falls into place and it makes you go, oh my goodness, there's something spiritually that's actually happening.
Well, and it's interesting because as we're talking about that, I feel the activations there too. And I wouldn't be surprised if you guys said that as we're talking about this, you feel an activation somewhere in your bodies as well. And it'll just so happens that, especially when we do readings, they are a healing modality, right? So what will happen when I'm doing a reading, I'll feel the surge coming through there. And I know that the angels are around that person, helping them heal in ways that go beyond the words that I'm speaking and whatever it is, because we're transmitting as well. So when we're doing this work, we're not just flipping a card and saying, oh, yeah, sure, yeah, you'll get that job. It's going to be fine. Or, yeah, you're going to marry that person or whatever. This is actually an opportunity for a healer or a healing, which is technically, according to the angels, not fixing something in us that's broken, but remembering the part of us that isn't, that we forgot. And so then the shift occurs because we remember that whatever that was out of alignment actually isn't. And then it has to move into alignment because that's the way that we realize it is. So that's the way that they talk about it. So when we do our work, we bring people back into alignment and they forget that they were ever out of it, but we have a little help from above.
Yeah,
And whenever I
absolutely.
do this, I always say a little prayer to the angels and thank them, because it just by acknowledging that this comes through us and not from us, hands it back over to them. And then that's where all the really good stuff comes through and you get to see things that really have an amazing impact on other people.
I love that because, yeah, anytime I do readings and I pull out the cards, people just absolutely love the cards because it's so visual. And then they, start thanking me. And it's like, and I always explain it to them. It's not me. Hopefully, I'm being that channel and giving you whatever you need for healing. And I do explain that the cards are just another tool to extend the reading. But, but it's coming, like you said, from the divine, from the angels, from the spiritual world. And I think we need to really have more conversations about it because some people are afraid to go and get a reading because of it. And I love how you explained that.
Moreover, it's often that people are afraid to actually open up their own intuition as a result of whatever misinformation that's been carried, on this planet for years and years about how you can't have your own relationship with the divine. I hate to deliver this to you, boys and girls, but those that were interested in discouraging you from connecting to the divine yourself are those that want to have power over you because you have to go through them to get it. So what happens, it's so innate in us to use or have access to this. And there is a courageous aspect of it where we can override the false programming that we get from the exterior world and say, no, I'm not buying into that. This feels more innate and natural to me, and I'm not giving my power away anymore. Because once we actually connect, and one time I got this sort of insight, it was like, if God is so great and amazing, why would he not want to talk to me directly?
Absolutely.
How could he not do that? Or she or it or whatever.
Right.
In that sense, how could they not? And especially with our angels, we're told we have guardian angels, but I can't talk to them. How can they guard me and guide me if they've been sent to assign, if they've been assigned to my life path to make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do, but they're like, you know, that scene in The Little Mermaid where she didn't have her voice and she can't, you know, speak. It's like, no, of course we can hear them, but it's a matter of actually tuning in and allowing ourselves to know what we already know and honoring that instead.
Oh, that is beautiful. Now, I know we're kind of getting the end of questions. I want to talk about the new set of tarot cards that you have developed. Okay. Tell us all about it.
Oh, this is great. So first of all, I never knew that I was going to do that. And so I have taught people how to communicate with their angels and use tarot to do readings for themselves and others. So I started teaching a tarot class. And someone said, you should design a tarot deck with the angels. And I thought, okay, let's do that. And then all of a sudden, some money came from out of nowhere. And then because I'm an actor and worked in the film and television world, I went through one of my networking groups and I contacted or looked for basically an animator, someone who could take my concepts and put them in. Well, the cool thing about that was the synchronicity that we had in common. So she designed these for me, but we're both angel channels.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my concepts and her designs. And the angels were working through both of us at the same time. And they told me that there's an activation in them. So whatever it is, because they worked with us to express themselves through the deck, that there's an activation in it, which is why it's called the Ascension with the Angels Tarot, because it's for helping you to ascend or helping the world to ascend and all that. Well, it turned out through our conversations that when I used to have an agent and manager, when I was auditioning as an actor, she worked for my manager. At the time, I didn't know her. And as all of a sudden, I remembered that when I had interviewed with my manager, that she had all these angels. In fact, this one in particular, this one was behind her desk. And I asked her if she liked angels. We got into the conversation. I told her that I channeled angels. And so it's interesting that the one synchronicity that we had in common, though it was in the rearview mirror, the angels were there too. And my manager had given me that angel. And so when we worked together, there were certain cards. For example, the Ace of Swords, the angels said they wanted the violet flame of transmutation on that. So I said, you know what? That's what the angels said. She goes, well, that's interesting because that's just what I was drawing as well. The angels wanted to use the opportunity to let us know that we were working together on this project. So for people who take my class, I include a deck. They're about to be printed. So they haven't been printed yet. They're just about ready to get printed. They're in the development phase, but they're just about ready to get printed. But those who take my online class, the Angels and Tarot Masterclass, I will give them a deck when it comes in as well. But it's interesting because designing the deck, I designed it in a way where the images would help people grasp onto the angelic translation of the meaning. So for example, the devil card got changed into the fear card, and there's a beautiful image on it where it's a person who has two paths, and one is lit and has an angel feather, which is really the true meaning of the devil card, but we removed references to the devil. So this is an angelic version of the tarot, and so that people can use that to communicate with them, the angels, that is, with using this deck as an oracle or doing their readings, because I'll have the angelic images or the ones that the angels gave both of us.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to see. I can't wait so that we can actually buy. So will people be able to buy it on Amazon, or do they have to go to your website?
Right now it's available for pre-order. So
Okay.
it's actually a little less expensive right now because the pre-order is normally $44, but right now it's $33 to support the pre-order, to support the project of getting it off the ground. And so it is available for pre-order now. And right now it looks like we should have the cards. And I know that this is going to be evergreen content. This is July when we're recording this, but this should be around in the next month or 6 weeks. We should, or before that, we'll have the cards.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. So Cassie, I know that there are some questions on the side. Can he answer some of those questions? Or
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And I'm just now dropping, just for our viewers, I'm dropping the link to pre-order Seph's deck.
Oh, good.
So that if that is of interest to you, you can go find that. Also, if you I just want to take a moment to say, if you are watching and you are enjoying the show, please make sure to do the YouTube or Facebook subscribe or like or follow us, so that you can continue to know about all the things that are happening. So anyway, that's my little PR moment.
How to do that?
Yeah.
Back to the show. So yes, we do have some questions. So Julie Lindley Harper is asking, she says she's walking in a room and the lights always flick just with you, and it happens a lot to her. So Seph, what are your thoughts on that?
So first of all, I'm going to answer these questions with my intuition instead of like a general, if that's okay.
Sure.
So to Julie, one of the things I want to tell you is that your energy field is, this is what the angel's saying, it's actually stronger and bigger than what you're aware of. And if anything, Julie, they want you to know that they appreciate your humility, because that's what they're saying, is that you try your best to be humble. But there's so much that you have to do on this planet, Julie, that it's a process that you're in right now to actually own who you really are in your mission. And because you have that energy field, the lights do flicker with you. And of course, now that you've acknowledged it, guess what? Now that it can keep happening as a way of actually saying, yes, you are here. Yes, you're disrupting or actually funneling with a lot of energy. And that's why it happens for you. So what's interesting is it is just a sign from above that there are big things that you're meant to do in this world. And sometimes it's hard to acknowledge that, but it does send a little bit of a shiver up your spine and a reconnection to all the power that you have, literally the power to disrupt the power. And so that's what I would say to Julie.
Awesome. So, all right. Very cool.
I love this format. This is amazing.
Michelle, did you have anything to add to that, or were we?
Oh, no, I just thought that was absolutely beautiful because, you know, a lot of people in that same scenario would think, oh my goodness, somebody's coming after me, you know, and you just put the love and the light into it and explained it perfectly. And I think that's what we need to do to people, to say, explain it is a message from above. It's not anything else. And so I think that's beautiful, Julie.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay. So we are at that time of the show, I believe that we are moving into questions or into readings. So if you do have a question or you would like a reading, just go ahead and drop your name in the chat and drop us a comment so that we know that you're here and that you are open. We did have a few people towards the beginning of the show. So why don't we start with Terry Phillips?
Great. Now, are they asking specific questions or do they want to just sort of know from stream of consciousness?
Just, I believe tonight we are going with just stream of consciousness, whatever spirit kind of brings up.
Amazing. So Terry, do you want me to go first, or are we each going to have a go? Okay, great. Cool. I want to make sure to stay in my own lane, right? Oh, I could be invited back to play. Well, first of all, I get a lot of twos around you, Terry. So look out for twos because they're signs that you're on the right path. And speaking of the right path, one of the things that I get right now is that with regards to resources for funding a next phase or for going to a next phase of something is actually coming from a sort of a shift in the path that's coming. So as things start to look like a mini setback, it's not. It's actually kind of lining you up for some blessings. I really do see some resources that you're looking for right now to actually move you to the next phase. And that resource could still be a person or an open door, but whatever it is that's showing me resources coming to bring you to the next phase. and they're talking about that they're there, that they're here, but they're like just a second away. So just stay in that state of surrender, and they're showing up.
And I love that. I mean, it's very interesting too. And you'll find this out, Seph, that when we all do readings, it kind of tends to connect because we're all kind of connecting into the spiritual world. And Terry, what I was really getting is that you need to, continue to follow the intuition, because I think your ego and your mind does get into it. And when I drew a card, I was pulled with the Cosmic Dancer, which means movement. And I love that Seph said that to surrender to the process. And what I got was to be fluid. And that's exactly what that means, is that you need to really just, let down your guard, follow the intuition, and go for it. All right. Many blessings.
Absolutely. Yes. And actually going right into that, I drew the 10 of, this is the 10 of Cups. And I feel like immediately when I picked this card up, I felt you have support around you. For the path that you are on, you have an immense amount of support around you. And the feeling I get with that is that there are times where you just do not want to lean into that support, or you feel as if you are walking completely alone, and you have a tendency to want to like isolate yourself more. And what I feel like this card is saying is lean into that support that you have and trust it and know that it's there for sure.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So next we have Hillary Gatsby.
Oh, Hillary. Hello, Hillary. Oh my gosh. This is a friend/client of mine. Hi, Hillary. Great to see you here. Actually, what's interesting is that I get for you, and I haven't actually spoken with Hillary for quite a while, so this is not based on knowing her. But what's interesting is that you're in a newly expansion phase. So that's the first thing that I get. So this is like the beginning of the path. And I got that, and then I just pulled 2 random cards out of the deck, and they were both aces, which is the beginning of each suit. And in this case, it's the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Swords. And it actually deals with Ace of Cups in this case, is talking about awareness versus the mind. And what I get for you is that this new path has everything to do with the fact that you're living from awareness instead of your linear or logical mind. And you've been doing that for quite a while, but this is up-leveled. And if you haven't seen that already, it's about to be. So in other words, what's happening here is this new emergence, or this new level of amazing expansion. And I felt the energy again through my hands come through for you, is that this is an up-leveling that has to do with the fact that you're leaning even more than ever on your conscious aspect of being in the world, and less the logical. There's a logical piece of it that's kind of intertwined in there, but it is really the power that you've found to create your own reality. So I'd love to hear what this is that you're creating. So drop me an email.
Cassie, did you want to go next?
Sure. I drew the 3 of Cups. And so for me, this really feels like this is like the 3 pillars that you are, it's kind of like your 3 pillars of life that you are, have been working on and developing. And it's like, you've got the home life, you've got the work life, and then you've got the spiritual path that you've been working on and developing. And the spiritual path for me just feels like it's just starting to really open up for you. And I do feel like these paths do intertwine. but I almost feel like there's a door that's, or that you, if you're not already, you're going to be doing some work in the spiritual realm for sure.
Okay. And so what I was really feeling is right now, and it makes perfect sense that, you know, if you are starting something new, you do not have much confidence, girl, right now. You know, you're second guessing and everything else. But what I really feel is that you need to become a warrior and just know, and maybe have something that you read every day, saying, I can do it. I can do it. Kind of like the Nike commercial, just do it. And so I pulled up a card and I love this. There's your warrior right there. So summon the warrior. So do your prayers, get your mentor to help with you. I don't know. That just came out, mentor. So are you her mentor or?
I it's funny, she could be her own mentor too.
Yeah,
But
I know.
yeah,
It
she's a
came
very
out.
powerful
Okay.
person. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but what's interesting, and we always up level, right? What is that? Metal sharpens metal, and we always up level our mentors as we go along, right? So there you go.
I know. And I was actually looking for another word, but that just came to mind. I'm going, okay, or you can do that. So look for a mentor. So I hope that this helps you, and many blessings, Hillary. Thank you.
Absolutely. And she did actually reply with, she actually does have a mentorship program for women. So.
Okay. Oh, okay. So she is the mentor.
She is
awesome.
the mentor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very
Yeah.
cool. All right. So we do have a question. Vonnie Diamonds asks, or Yvonne, my question is, how do I get more in touch with my intuition so I can make the right decision about paths I should take?
Oh my gosh, this is an amazing one. This is why I created a masterclass for intuitive development. But let me explain something that's very pivotal in really getting this. Number one, your intuition is actually more innate in you than not being tuned in. And that's the most interesting switch that we make when we up level into accessing it more, is that we already have it, we're already using it, we just don't realize what it is. And then once we actually tune into it, then we're there. Okay. So the best place I like to start is the fact that there are two minds. There is our mind and there's awareness. And awareness is felt in the heart, and our mind is sort of located in the left brain. I tell people to put your finger or your awareness around your left brain, trace it down to your heart. And once you put your focus here, you start to feel expansive. That's where you have access to everything. When we go in the shower, we're already in that brainwave state that expands the bandwidth. So the information is already coming through stream of consciousness. It's just a matter of whether we have the open bandwidth. So in order to get more in touch with your intuition and start to experiment with it, just do anything that will allow you to get out of the limiting mind and into the higher mind, which is your awareness. And the portal to that is in the heart, or we could say the right brain, right and left brain cohesion. And once we do that and we just get into that expansive state, you know, a lot of times we'll meditate, right? And we'll meditate when we get into a really great meditation. The next thing you know is those little negative thoughts will start to trickle in, and we're like up there, we're going, yeah, I don't buy that one. We start to throw them away and destroy them. And then once our awareness is empty, then all of a sudden powerful things start happening. And again, one of the reasons I really love teaching intuitive development right now at this very pivotal time in human history is because it's a game changer in a destabilized and chaotic world. Imagine as you take this advice and expand it and expand into your already innate GPS that's located in the heart. When you step into this and you're now guided by it, the next thing that happens is that you'll always be in the right place at the right time, and you'll always find peace when the external situations would otherwise actually take you out of it. So distincting the two minds, creating habits that will allow you to access the higher mind and it's just going to kick in from there. And it's about remembering something that you already know.
And drink lots of water because you're working with a lot of energy.
Yes.
I mean, I keep, I think I'm about to finish my glass because there's so much energy that's moving around here.
Yes.
That is beautiful stuff.
Yes. And I also want to mention too, it's like if you have a hard time sitting still while you're meditating or while you're trying to get into that space, I have found, I'm not sure I would recommend it while driving, because it's better to be present when you're driving. But when a lot of the times when I do go on walks, I just kind of walk until the only sound that I'm hearing is the sound of my footsteps and just the sounds that are around me, because then that kind of sort of helps me. Plus you're getting some kind of exercise in, which I feel like also kind of helps with like kind of getting your vibration up and things like that. And so just, getting out and taking that walk and just walk, that for me, I found that very helpful. So that's just another suggestion to put out there as well. So we do have Whitney Harden. And she says, I want a reading to see what the angels are trying to tell me, because I feel like I started my awakening a couple of months ago and I feel like my eyes are open, but maybe my heart won't let me see it.
So Whitney, this is beautiful. First of all, I'm hearing from them, and I'd love to allow you to reframe this, because our journey with awakening and the angels is a gradual one. And when we get initiated, we're so excited and enamored by remembering who we truly are and the magic that we possess, literally the power of conscious energy and the miracles, the synchronicities. And we remember home and we remember who we are. And it isn't this place, I can tell you that much for sure. And not anymore. Anyways, it's getting there. But my point is that it's a gradual journey. And so what's interesting is that you have awakened and you're meant to actually enjoy this, like savor it, because it's so rich what you take in at every step of this journey, each new insight, each new approach to utilizing your power. It all comes with an experience and everything like that. Otherwise, we'd have what some people call a healing crisis, where your life goes into total breakdown. So the angels are saying that you're on the right path. They're saying that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And we're so glad you joined us here, because hopefully what we impart on you is really going to make a difference. And your heart is the part of you that's connected to your awareness. So just so that we're actually identifying the source of that wants to actually hold us back, it's actually our mind. That would be the place that would hold us back, or our linear or logical mind. Some people have very well-developed logical minds because they're meant to do amazing things that require intellect. But we're supposed to have a well-developed aspect of both, which is what you'll ultimately have at some places you expand the spiritual or conscious aspect of you. You already are very smart or intelligent. So that part of it, because it's so well developed, is going to try to take you out of that. That's okay. That's perfectly normal. That kind of sabotage that the mind does, it's perfectly normal. So when it comes along, you could just acknowledge it. Sometimes I say, oh, there you are. You can go take your cigarette break now. But you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And with a little patience and letting each bit of this unfold as it's supposed to, that's all you'll need. And then your mind, your intellect, or your intelligence won't get in the way anymore.
I love that. And what I was really feeling too is that, being in the spiritual business, we all have to remember that we're also human. We're having these human experiences, and and some days I'll be going, oh, I love this job, that I'm exactly where I need to be, and I feel the moment. And then the next day, something triggers me. And that human, like just like what you were saying, Seph, that human condition goes, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm unworthy and everything. But it makes you stronger the next day. Just know that it's absolutely normal.
Yes. Michelle, I think you just mentioned this, like, yes, we all do that.
It's like, we're rocking and rolling. I went to Holistic Fair to do a reading, and I was just in the moment of not love, and I just knew that, and I wanted to show up for spirit. So I had another, light worker come over, and she gave me an energy read right in my heart, and I could feel it. And I go, okay, I'm ready now. So sometimes you just need a kicking in the pants, or I don't know how you would say a terminology, just to kind of say, all right, it's all right. You can get through this.
Yeah. Well, and it matches, because so the card that I got is the World. And I love the way that this particular card is depicted, because you really see her, and then she's like facing, like, it's like all the universe is around her, and like the guides and the spirits are all around her too. And so it's like they're there and they are helping you. And yes, it can be overwhelming, and yes, there are days that you're gonna doubt yourself, and but you are strong enough to do this. So just push through the harder days, and we're here every 2 weeks to help.
Yeah. If I can add something, it's interesting that you brought up the World card, because immediately the angels brought this into my awareness. The deck that I designed in the World card, the images of an earth angel, or just basically it is an earth angel. And what I get about Whitney is that you are an earth angel. You are an angel on earth. So you are here for this very pivotal time in human history. And so what's interesting about that, and the reason why you would maybe even feel that this isn't happening quickly enough, is because you feel like you have a mission to actually be the change that this world needs right now. And you'll actually get to do that. But to take in everything that there is to take in, or to continue to take in everything that there is that needs transmuting in this place, is overwhelming. So there is some pacing that's happening here that is ensuring that you don't have to take it all in at once, because otherwise you would probably not want the job because you take it in little surges. When you actually realize what it is about consciousness and what it is about the shift in consciousness that's occurring, you take it in little doses so that you can actually transmute it and move up to the next level and transmute even stronger or even more intense energies. So just understand that the process is part of actually keeping you in at least some sense of joy, so that you can keep continuing, because your work is about making the world a better place. Your work is of being an angel that's meant to heal this earth and bring in the new earth.
Awesome. That was awesome.
I know, Seph, let me tell you, as a guest, I mean, your words are so poetic that it's hard to follow that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because I love listening to you. I mean, I know our listeners are going, oh, can he just continue to talk?
oh. Well, thank you. It's interesting because, we're born with our certain gifts, not because they're any better or anything like that, because it's an indicator of what we're meant to do on our path. So, it's funny because trust me, there's a point in time or settings where people wanted to shut me up. So I'm glad that gift of being able to keep flowing conversationally, I mean, it serves very well in this realm, but sometimes it's been annoying to people too. So, there's always that. And so I guess that's an amazing opportunity to point out that when we take inventory of what's naturally ours, then we know what we have to work with. What's our tools? It's not even our tools, but what's our toys? What's the toys that we could play with? Because when I get into this mode, I just listen to them, and I just say, well, where do you want me? What do you want me to say? And it just flows through. And sometimes, to be honest with you, I'm making discoveries at the same time. Seph is making discoveries at the same time that he hears angels say a certain something. So I'm like, maybe I'll have to think of that the next time I'm not feeling so great. But yes, this is a great opportunity to mention that, taking inventory, especially now, because, we've all been uprooted where we were, where we thought we were going, right? So we've all been uprooted in such a way. And a lot of us were already happy with the path that we were going. We just hadn't arrived at our destination yet. And suddenly it's like, oh, nope, you're going over there. And we have to piece this together. And I remember telling a client today, and I love this, that the angel said, because we get these puzzle pieces, one piece at a time, right? We get these puzzle pieces, one piece at a time. We don't get the whole thing at once. And the angel said, and we're so impatient. We want to see the whole thing. We want to flesh out our calling. We want to get that whole thing activated, whatever we're doing. But it comes through one piece at a time, and we don't know what the next piece is that's coming. Well, the angels reminded me today, have you ever put together 1,000-piece puzzle and then dump the whole thing out? And then you have to go and match all these pieces together with all of them laid out. It's overwhelming. And they said, at least you have us to give you each piece of the puzzle in order that it goes, instead of having this whole big mess in front of you, right? So as we're all piecing this together and pivoting during this amazing time in human history, it's important to note that everyone around you is doing the same thing. And we get to take inventory of what our actual God-given gifts are and then put them together, and that'll help bring through some more of those pieces of the puzzle.
Well, and I think what's really important too, because not only do you have the words, but you can just, when you're talking, Spirit is talking through you. You just have that, and so I think that's important for people to know that we are definitely channelers. And I think that's what we're seeing tonight. So we appreciate you coming.
Oh, well, I'm glad to be here. And whoever's listening to this, I hope that there's an amazing shift from this, because, I know that each one of us has taken an extra challenging path just to hone out these gifts, just to hone our craft to be here. And it's funny because all of us as healers and channelers and teachers and speakers, we've actually even traveled a path where people didn't value what we have to offer. They'll say, oh yeah, I'd love a reading, but I don't want to pay for it, or whatever, things like that, right? Which is interesting, because we get to this point where we realize that what we have is very valuable. And sometimes we have to have conversations with people about things that would appear weird. We have to have the courage to say this. So we've taken sometimes an extra challenging path to get here. So if that ends up in its delivery, so that ultimately you end up being up-leveled today by hearing this discussion, amazing. Then it was worth it, right? For all of us.
Yes. So I am going to actually just really quick before we go, we've got about 7 minutes left of the show. So I just wanted to address, we've got 2 people in the chat that are actually, hi, Jeffrey John. Hi, sorry, I just saw him pop up. Hello.
Can you say squirrel?
Squirrel. So we do have 2 people in the chat that are both asking about love interest, and for me personally, I don't particularly like to go into like predictive of, will they call me back, it's so I'm wondering if we could, as the 3 of us, kind of give our own readings as far as in general on that topic.
Okay.
Then maybe give some insight that way.
Yeah, with that particular topic, insight is the most helpful, because it's actually, it's unless you get a really clear sense of somebody that there's a soulmate there, a soul agreement in the relationship, you can tell if there's a soul agreement in there and relay that information. But there's so much free will that the predictive aspect of it doesn't actually become valuable. But we can empower people to actually well, let me start by saying, if there's a challenge in a relationship, it's because there's an opportunity to heal something. And if we're just taking the challenge on by expecting the other person to call us on Friday night, then we're missing the opportunity. It's just going to show up again in another argument, right? And so it's better to take that on and to give people what will really actually surge them forward. And I guess that's my approach to love relationships as well, is to find out what the soul agreement is and what is the opportunity here for advancement.
Right. So, so my thoughts that was awesome. so my thoughts on that are more or less of, a lot of the times when we are in a relationship, or a relationship has taken a turn for the worse, or if we're finding ourselves in a place of separation, a lot of the times there's work that needs to be done on one side or the other, or both sides, to make that come together. Because a lot of the times what will happen is, if somebody is really doing a lot of self-work, self-care, it's kind of like they kind of sort of vibrate up. And if that partner doesn't come with them, then it's kind of a question of, okay, are we just not matching because now our vibrations are kind of out of alignment? And so for me, it's kind of like you kind of have to be in that space where you are growing together, or like, oh shoot, they're still there, like, hang on, let me circle back for a second, like, then we can come up together. So that's just kind of, but like, when you do that, when you're in that space to receive that relationship that is right for you, then that relationship will be coming in for sure. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. What I get, and it was so interesting because I do have a lot of clients that ask that question a lot of times, and many, many, many times they know the answer. They know in their heart the answer. They just want to be validated. And and I always say, you have free will. You do not need me. You know in your heart what you need to do. It's almost like what Seph was saying about a soul contract. You know your soul contract. So you've really got to deep dive into yourself, and sometimes writing things down, writing it in a journal, just meditating over it. But just really follow the intuition. And I know that's kind of an answer that a lot of us don't want to hear, because it's like, no, I want you to tell me. Right. And it's like, no. I'm not here to tell you, maybe guide you, but not really to tell you. So my guidance is definitely look into yourself and what your heart's telling you.
When I work with the angels with relationships, they always bring up that they have a different perspective as to the reason why we're intimate with other people. And they say that we're actually we're paired at the level of heaven with someone who's going to help us to actually advance. And we're meant to reframe the purpose of our relationships, our intimate relationships, and all of our relationships. But speaking directly to intimate relationships, we're meant to reframe them from their prime directive is to have someone to Netflix and chill with, into this is a person who came into my life so that I could bring healing to them and them to me. And we're starting to see these 5D relationships right now, where people are actually that have a greater level of responsibility. And I'm married to someone who this sort of surfaced, and all of a sudden, what's interesting is that when something gets triggered, the first place I go to is not my spouse, but I go inside and go, okay, what do you want me to know? And my spouse sometimes doesn't even know about it whatsoever. So by reframing the purpose of these relationships, we really get more mileage and traction. And that's where the angels come in and help us to actually up level.
And like you said, afterwards, that's when the healing comes in.
Yes.
When you get your answer. Yeah.
And then after you can go Netflix and chill.
Yeah, there you
go.
There you go.
Or Gaia channel and chill, whatever. Or Gaia channel and chill, whatever. Yeah.
For sure. Well, Seph, we have totally enjoyed having you on the show with us. We are right at the end of it. So, but we tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
talktomyangels.com, and you can do a myriad of things there. You could book a session or pre-order the cards, sign up for my Angels and Tarot Masterclass, and you can get in touch with me there. And I'm also on Instagram at Talk to My Angels. You could message me there as well.
Awesome. Michelle, let everyone know how they can find you.
All right. I send everybody to my website because it's all that information is there. So it's my name, www.michellehendersonmedium.com. And Cassie, where can we find you?
Yeah.
All right. So I am Cassie Clayton, branding alchemist with Stargazers Unite. You can find me at stargazersunite.com. Stargazers.unite is social handle all across all social media platforms. I help you build your brand logos and websites to help radiate your soul out to the universe. So with that being said, that is the end of the show, and we will see everybody next time.